This week in the conversation, I have the honor to welcome Caron Pescatore. She is the author of Kate's Court, a children's book series designed to teach a middle grade student the facts of life. But before we get into the video, I just want to remind everyone that it's important to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it'll go directly into your portable. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, Chief Editor for CSMS Magazine, and I'm here this morning with a wonderful author. Her name is Caron Pescatore. Did I get it right?
Pescatore. That was pretty good.
Okay. And we're going to be talking about her book series, and she has a series called Kate's Court. And it's a series that teaches children how to understand as they grow up the facts of life. And to begin with, Caron, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Ardain. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So to officially get started, I'd like for you to make a brief presentation to the audience of CSMS Magazine. Who is Caron Pescatore?
Okay, I am the daughter of Jamaicans, and I was born in England. I was raised in Jamaica. I now live in the United States. I am a wife, a mother of two amazing children.
I know.
I am also a registered, yeah, I love my children. They're just, to me, they're amazing, but I'm sure all mothers say that. I'm also a registered nurse, an attorney, and an author.
Okay, so this brings us with the first question. An attorney and then becoming an author, specifically
yes,
writing manuscripts pertaining to children. And I remember seeing it, you mentioned specifically middle grade children. I know at some point in my life, I was a public school teacher, and I spent a number of years in Pompano Beach, Florida, teaching at a middle school. And then when I saw your book, you know, it brings me back to the old days. So
yes.
Yeah. Is that, my first question is, Caron, writing this series, was that because your experiences as an attorney, which led you to begin to write about books for middle grade students?
Well, I think it was a combination of, I've always loved literature and writing, and I always thought I would write a book, you know, from I was really young, but I thought I would write more of a memoir, something about my life. And when my kids were first born, I figured it would be something that even if no one else ever read it, it would give my children at some point an understanding of who I was.
Correct.
But the idea to write for children, that didn't come until after my kids were born and as they were growing. And, you know, I started to write like little stories, little children's stories and stuff. And my husband, who is amazingly supportive, after my daughter was born, I decided to stay home. But for the first 2 years I was home, I kept worrying about what was I going to do when I went back to work. Did I want to go back to law? Did I want to go to nursing? And, you know, he told me, stop worrying about it. At some point, you're going to have to go back to work. You might as well enjoy this time now at home with the kids while you can. Okay. And he says, why don't you focus on your writing? You know, he was the one who said, focus on your writing. You've always wanted to write.
Let me stop you right for a second. Caron, let me stop you. Why did they say, why don't you focus on your writing? So you have been writing for some time and you have been sharing your writing with him. Was that why?
Oh, yes. My husband. Oh, yes. Because when my daughter was born, I was I did do some home health visits in nursing. I was still working a little. I stopped, working as an attorney. But when my son was born, that's when I started to try out little kid stories. I was like, maybe had an idea of maybe, submitting something to a magazine. I actually wrote content articles for a healthcare magazine online, nursing related stuff. But I really enjoy writing the little kid stories. Okay. But I'll tell you what, those I was trying to write those little stories like Goodbye Moon, those little picture books. I have a lot of respect for picture book authors because those books, as simple as they are and as much as kids love them, they're not easy to write. So my husband, he was the one who was like, just, you like writing, why don't you just focus on your writing? And the idea for the series actually came, I kid you not, I was driving him crazy one day, really? Saying, but I don't know what I want to do when I go back to work. Should I be a nurse? I said, I might open an Etsy store because I like to do crafts. And I said, I was thinking about doing an Etsy store and see if I could sell my stuff. And he looked at me and he said, for a woman who has as many degrees as you do, I can't believe the different ways you're trying to figure out to make money. He's like, he went like this to me. He says, you're a lawyer, go write a book about a kid lawyer. And he brushed me off with his hand.
That was his idea. God. Okay.
That was his idea. And he literally went like this, go, like just, when somebody's like, you're about to go.
Yeah.
And he was the one. And 2 days later, right. I said to him, the joke's on you because I have an entire story in my head about a kid lawyer. And he said, good, well, go write it now. Okay. 2 days and a whole story was in my head.
That character, Juliana Parcello.
Luana
Parcello.
Yes.
That character, is that derived from your own relationship with the children? They inspire you to create this specific character?
Yeah, well, the name actually, my daughter's name is Hannah and my son's name is Lucian. And we were driving, I forget where we were going one day. This was before I came up with the idea for the book.
Okay.
We were going somewhere and they were, just kids, and I turned around and I said, Lucian and Hannah, Luana, behave yourselves.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a combination of their names. So when the idea for the book came, I was like, I think that's the perfect name. And then her last name is my mother-in-law's surname, is my mother-in-law's maiden name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you please show to the audience if you happen to have a copy of one of the books with you can show it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first one. The Doll Dilemma. And this character here is Luana.
Okay.
She is based on my daughter. She's based on my daughter.
And I realized that you said on your website, you said you will Luana will begin to have a blog where people can communicate, because I know that who's behind Luana. I know it's going to be Caron. So in other words, the fictional character is embodied upon Caron. So So when do you anticipate of starting something like that? Because the school district where you live can be very much involved in your writing, because the thing is, school districts always looking for local authors as role model to come to speak with the student body, and not only that, but also to use the book and teach the kids in the classroom. Is there anything, have you ever anticipated of doing that, or have you ever contacted school district in areas where you live?
Well, when I was in Massachusetts, I actually spoke at my children's school a few times. I have. And as far as the books, the thing is, I wrote the books. I didn't have any specific idea in mind. I had so much fun doing it.
Okay.
I looked into traditional publishing versus self-publishing and decided I wanted to self-publish for a number of reasons.
Right.
And then with my first book, I got an editor through Amazon. That's when they had Create Space. So I got an editor through them. But with my second book, I was like, I started to realize, oh, this is going to be more than just a book. It's going to be a series of books.
Okay.
So I was like, I want to get an editor that I can work with, who I can learn from and get better over time. That's what I wanted.
Okay.
And I found an editor. She's amazing. I love her. She actually used to be an editor for Simon Schuster.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
Yes. And she loved she edited Go Cartastrophe. She liked it. And she said, she said, this book reminds me of the Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew series.
Okay.
And that used to be one of her series when she was at Simon Schuster. That was one of her books then,
Okay.
So, and I said to her, I was so happy because my daughter, we used to love Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew. We read a lot of those books. And when I wrote my books, I knew that I had been influenced by those books. I mean, the mystery, my book has the legal fiction aspect to it, but the mystery aspect was very much influenced by the Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew. So I was like, and she said to me, if you ever think about traditional publishing, I think there's a market for your books in schools and libraries.
Okay.
So, so then she when she edited my third book, she reiterated that. And then it was, when people make suggestions, you have to kind of mull it over in your mind.
Uh-huh.
And I started to think about, what do I really want with these books? And I think, they're entertaining, but my main focus, apart from the entertainment, was I wanted children to learn about the court system.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my children, because I used to be a public defender, and I spent all day in court. And I wanted my children to know what it is that I did in court every day, what it was that I did at work.
Right.
And so that's, so I thought about it. And then I actually have 6 books in the series now. There's 3 waiting in the wings.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Now these 3,
and so
self-publishing them, or maybe trying to find a publisher for them? No.
I think right now I've decided the 4th book, The Cookie Caper.
Right.
When my editor, when she edited that book, she was like, no. She's like, you really need, you really should consider doing traditional publishing. These books have, they have a place
right.
in the schools and libraries. And so that's what I've been doing. But it's querying is not easy. You have to find the right agent, because I for that plan to work, I think I need, some of the bigger publishers, because they're the ones that, more into the libraries. So that's what I'm doing now. But it's a long process, and it's difficult.
Well, it's not only you. It's almost every author trying to break through the traditional publishers. And now there's a major obstacle. I understand they no longer accept queries directly from authors. You have to go to literary agencies, and finding that agent.
Oh, yes.
It's just another steep mountain to climb. So it's not that easy.
Yes.
Perhaps your editor can help.
It is not.
Your editor perhaps can help you find that specific channel that would guide you through finding a traditional publisher. But still, it doesn't.
Yes, because
it doesn't hurt to try, because in your area where you live, the school district might very well, because there are departments within the school board that at least I live in North Florida, in St. Johns County, which was one of the best county when it comes to public school system. And they constantly looking for local authors, because they want to use them as role model. You could do a twofold. While you're seeking a traditional publisher, you can also market yourself directly within the school system, you know.
That's a good idea, because they say you should never put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
And I'm a true believer that, you know, things happen and they don't always happen exactly the way you think they're going to.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you would expect, you know, we're going to get an agent and then we're going to get published, and then it might be something totally different. So I always try to keep an open mind to, you know, for other possibilities. So that's a very good idea. I will follow up on that.
Okay, now let's go back to the last one, the last book, which is Goodie Bag, right? Was that
Goodbye Goodie Bag?
Goodbye Goodie Bag, right? Is that like a transition to the second one? Because I haven't. Is that a transition? The second one is Catastrophe.
Yeah, it's Go-Kart Catastrophe. Because it was a go-kart catastrophe. Yes, it was a go-kart catastrophe.
I just want to be sure with the viewers that Caron Pescatore, he is an amazing writer when it comes to writing to teach kids, children, you know, how to understand actually the court system, not just that, but also the reality of the world that we're living in.
Yes, because the thing is, it is true, because in the book, Luana, who is, like I said, based on my daughter,
right?
She is biracial like my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, her mother is Jamaican, just like I am, and her father is Italian, just like my husband is. But in the book, both her parents are lawyers, and she wants to become a lawyer. And so she's also like a little peacemaker. She doesn't like when her friends argue. She doesn't like discord. And I'm very much like that too. I don't like those things. Yes, which is funny, because people always think that because I work in court and I was a defense lawyer, that I would be like aggressive. I'm like, no, if we can resolve things peacefully, I'm all for that. If I have to get aggressive, I can do it, but I'd rather not. So, you know, she gets the idea to start the court when her friends, who are, they're siblings, they're twins, they're fighting over a doll that's been destroyed. And the sister is convinced that her brother destroyed her favorite doll, and he's saying he's innocent. And so Luana says, which is something she learned from her father, who's a prosecutor, that the best way to get to the truth is in court, is to have a trial. So that's what we're going to do. You think he did it, you bring all the evidence you have to court, and we will all examine it and see if he really is guilty. And so it's kind of like a mature way for kids to resolve conflict and disputes rather than just fighting.
That's interesting. And that's why I believe the school system would be very much interested in having your books into the classroom. Now, you say there are 3 more, in the pipeline, right?
3 full finished manuscripts. 1 I'm querying, and 1 is ready for my editor, and the other 1 I am going through the editing process myself. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So just because we get into the end of the conversation, we can talk all day long, but we have a time frame.
Yes.
The reason why I'm saying this is because you and I have something that we share in common, because we have roots from the Caribbean.
Yes.
And I know I was born in Haiti, and Jamaica is just 75 miles away.
Yes.
So, and the southern city of Lekai in Haiti, there's an island right off the coast of the main city, and that is inhabited by Haitians and Jamaicans, or Jamaican fishermen.
Really?
Yeah. So, and historically, there's been a link pre-independence era between Haiti and Jamaica, because when the Haitian general Toussaint defeated the British on the island of Haiti, and before the signing of the withdrawal, General Maitland, who was the British commander on the island, he had to seek assurances from the Haitian general not to send his army into Jamaica to liberate the slave. And Toussaint never agreed onto that. He never agreed onto that. He said slavery is a demon. It has to be deracinated, uprooted, wherever it is. So, And in my family, we have Jamaicans too. My uncle, my cousins, they all married Jamaicans. So I have little nieces and nephews that are also Haitian Jamaican. So, the food is different. Now, let me ask you a question right here now. When it comes to cuisine, how is the Jamaican in your house?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm partial to Jamaican cooking. And, my absolute favorite meal is oxtail and rice. I mean, I love that. Like I could eat that all day long. And, but I think, like when I was because when we moved from Jamaica, we came to Florida. Mm-hmm. And when I first came here, there were some Jamaicans, but it wasn't as much. Now there's like a huge, Caribbean population here. Oh, okay. And so it's so much easier to get all the different foods and, but even when I left, there was still a lot of, people from the Caribbean. So, you could get your foods. We went to California and it wasn't quite as accessible. And I had to go to different areas to find my different meats and my like I'm running all over town trying to find like a bun for Easter and stuff like that, And then when we actually lived in Massachusetts for a while and there was nothing. Yeah. No, and it was, I was so happy when we moved back to South Florida because, the foods is so much, I mean, even just like, we eat like the beef patties and stuff, I can just go to the store and just get that. So
I know that.
Jamaican patties, yeah.
My next question, since we're getting to the end of it, Caron, who is your favorite author, your favorite writer? It doesn't have to be in America.
I don't have one. Like I love to read. Okay. So there's a few, but like James Patterson, I like him because I loved his Alex Cross series, that detective. There's been some movies on TV, but I love that whole series. I also like Carolyn Keene. She's the one who wrote the Nancy Drew books because I grew up on the original Nancy Drew series. So I loved her. And, there's that Bridgerton series on, I don't know if you know it, it's on Netflix now. It's so popular. Well, Julia Quinn is the one who wrote those books. And she is one of my all-time favorite historical romance authors. Okay, I've read tons of books by her.
The last thing, I know it's a personal question. I know you want to brand your name as a kid's, an author who writes children's book. But how about your memoir? I can't wait to read a memoir written by Caron Pescatore.
It's something that I might write because I am a child sex abuse survivor. Okay. And it's, as I'm sure people can imagine, it's colored my entire life. It's been very difficult. I've been suicidal. I suffer with depression, that sort of thing. And I think, not that I think my story is so special compared to other people's, but I feel like if it changes the life of one person, because but for the grace of God, I would not be here. There's been many times when I almost killed myself in my 20s. And so, I know the pain that people go through, just not necessarily related to, sex abuse, but particularly, people who have suffered sex abuse as a child. Okay. I feel like, maybe my message would resonate with one person and change the trajectory of their life. That would be,
It could.
I think that would be important.
Extremely motivational, enlightening. It's going to be very compelling. I'm already speaking in a term where it's going to be, because I'm sure that it will be. So with
I don't know if I'm convinced I'm going to write it.
I'm going to say it's been such a pleasure to have author Caron Pescatore in the conversation.